Hello, and welcome to the first episode of the all-new BKP Creator Club podcast. I'm Bobby Kerns Jr., and if you have ever tried to create content consistently and felt like you kept hitting a wall, this episode is for you. Today, I'm sharing the real story of my journey to consistent content creation, the roadblocks that we hit, and the lessons that I learned so that you don't make the same mistakes. You will know that this is not the first time that I have tried to start the BKP Creator Club podcast. Like that podcast, there were a couple of main problems. If you don't systemize what you are trying to do, you're never going to be able to repeat it. You don't have to do the most. Right. You can start a podcast with just your phone.
Yeah.
You can start a podcast with 2 phones. You can start a podcast with 3 phones. If you want something in life, you are either going to invest by time or money. Alrighty, so hello everyone. Welcome. I am really excited that we are finally doing this. I am here with Sanpriest.
Hello.
He is my co-host for today. So one thing you might be, noticing is that I said this is the first episode. If y'all have been around for a little bit, which I'm not going to lie, there weren't that many of you around, but that's okay. I won't hold it against you. Welcome. But you will know that this is not the first time that I have tried to start the BKP Creator Club podcast, but we'll get into that a little bit later. That's kind of the whole point of what this episode is. So episode 1, which is what we're calling this now, is sort of like a rebranding, and we're setting the stage for what this show actually is going to be now. We're going to have a mix of episodes with guests, but also co-hosts. So you'll see Sanpriest more often because we're going to have a revolving cast of people who are consistently working with us on the team that are always, with us behind the scenes and stuff. So that's kind of the idea. It's not just a one-man show like it was going to be before. That's why I said all new. That's why I said first. But this episode right here, as far as the main topic, is talking about how to be consistent. And let's just say I have a long journey of trying to be consistent with, a show like this and other types of content. So that's kind of the idea. But first, how you doing today?
Honestly, I'm doing pretty good. I'm actually excited to hear about the things that you kind of experienced during your journey. Just like you, I started a podcast and I'm actually planning to bring that back.
Yep.
And one of the things that I kind of bumped into was just like starting out with so much steam and then allowing life to kind of set me back and then get distracted or just kind of feeling a little defeated about things. But I'm just like, this year, I got to push past that and get to my destination because I'm the only one that's technically getting in my way.
I love that. I'm the only one that's getting in my way. We're going to talk a little bit about that. And hey, if there's anything we can say is that life going to always try to find a way to get in the way.
Okay.
Life going to do it. But that's what this podcast is about. Both this first episode and overall, our goal is really to walk you through the life lessons that you can take from watching somebody else try to do things and then setting the stage for us to then be consistent. So we were actually talking internally as a team because one thing people don't really know is that we actually at Bobby Kerns Productions now, it is not just a one-man show anymore.
No.
Behind the scenes, we actually do have a team. We have editors, we have admin, I have a personal assistant now. We have things are going, and we were talking internally about the cadence of how often this show would happen, and I was like, no, this it's just gonna go. That's the whole idea.
Which caught me off guard because I'm like, okay, are we doing seasons? Because I'm a seasonal type of person because I like to take mental breaks.
Right.
Bobby's like, nope, I want to keep going and I want to go until the end of time, which honestly I think is a really smart idea and a smart thing to do, especially with the content and the ideas that you have.
Exactly.
So you never will run out of ideas and you have tricks on what to do on those down days.
Exactly. So this show is going to be a mixture of things. It's not going to be just us sitting and talking about trying to teach you stuff every single time. We're always going to be pulling lessons and different things out, but obviously we're a production company first and then we're making this content second. So the main thing that this is always going to be, it's always going to be me with someone unless everybody down for the count, then I'll pop up and just hold it down. But that's not the goal. The goal is for us to have consistent conversations about breaking down different things. So today we're breaking down my journey and the lessons that you can pull from that. But then next week we might be breaking down some behind the scenes on how we shot a certain type of project. And then maybe something else is talking with a guest who's someone here in Charlotte or beyond who has expertise behind a certain skill or different field that aligns with our production company or content creation. So you never know what you're going to get. get from here. It's called the Content Club for a reason. Or Creator Club. Ooh, see, I'm already getting the name wrong, but it's
You know,
okay.
that's a part of the process of the podcast is we're also still trying to figure out what name and title sticks with the podcast.
Not gonna lie, yeah,
So
I thought about changing the name, and I have branding and all this stuff for this name, and we've thrown some ideas around. I think. Don't hold me to it, y'all. But I
okay.
think I like the idea of the BKP Creator Club, and I like it because it is automatically inviting, and it
Mm-hmm.
lets you know that you're a part of something, and we're trying to produce something that is just bigger than watching me. Like, I don't want this to be a thing of like, oh yeah, it's Bobby's podcast. I'm like, yeah, but like I'm also talking with somebody different
Yeah.
all the time, and it's like it doesn't have to be me as the focus. We have the branding idea, which is the BKP, who is in association with, but then the Creator Club podcast, and it's about anybody who is trying to be a content creator in some way, whether you're creating content for a specific brand or business that you own, whether you are trying to make your own content as an influencer pop off or whatever. That's kind of the whole idea. So the Creator Club kind of flows for all things, but we're gonna get started
So
into.
how do you get into the Creative Club? Like
Oh,
it sounds like it's a VIP access. I like that. But how do you get into this club?
like and subscribe.
Oh,
Like and subscribe.
really?
Follow us.
And where do we follow you at?
Follow us on Instagram. I'm gonna put the thing up here. I'm pretty sure it's BKP Creator Club _, but we're gonna fact check that, so it should be right here, right there. And then follow us here on YouTube, because this is the whole thing. We're gonna be doing weekly episodes, so that is the cadence that we're doing. We're doing weekly episodes, but then you'll also be seeing other stuff from us on social media, different scripted content, clips from the podcast, and all that other stuff. So how you join is you show up and you be a consistent viewer. We're doing consistent content creation. You be a consistent viewer, and you show
Yes.
up for us. We gonna show up for you. That's the whole shebang.
And I'm big on it. If you have any questions about anything that we kind of discussed, just put it in the comment section. Because even if we don't respond back in the comments, you never know. It might be something that's a part of our next topic or our next podcast. I'm big on those things. I never like for our guests to feel like we're just ignoring them. But sometimes you guys give us those creative ideas to keep going.
There it is. Yeah, yeah, yeah. If you got a question or you see something that we're doing on socials, I'm gonna get better. We're all gonna get better about posting some of the things that we're actually doing, and that comes with having somebody now that comes along with me to actually capture some of that content to like show what's going on and stuff, and then we can bring things back here and kind of break down different projects and discuss them. So that's the whole idea. But without further ado, we are going to get into today's topic. Okay, so first thing that we're going to be kind of discussing is the overall journey that I've kind of been on that kind of has caused a lot of inconsistency. So I started this business a hot minute ago, but I went full
What's a hot
time.
minute ago?
A
I
hot,
want
a
dates.
hot minute. So
When was your first attempt at this podcast?
first attempt at the podcast. Well, first attempt at the podcast, I believe, was in 2021,
Okay.
because I went full time in 2019, and then right after that we had the pandemic, and then I
Uh-huh.
spent the entire year of 2020 trying to live, trying
Also
to
fair.
survive, try to survive. And then once all that kind of happened at the end of 2020, I was able to get my first studio, and I was like, yo, we gonna start a podcast, because everybody was
I was
doing
about to say
podcasts during
everybody was
COVID.
doing a podcast.
COVID,
COVID
everybody,
cast is what I called them.
everybody and their mama had a podcast during COVID. So I was like, I can do that. I got a space that I can, do this at. The problem back then was that a lot of the stuff that I was doing was mainly photography. So
Uh,
like I didn't have a lot of like video cameras like I do now. I mean, like we got a whole 3-angle setup here. We running
what?
like
What?
Sony, yeah,
What?
yeah, the whole thing. We running all Sony cameras and all that stuff. Well, I didn't have any of that back then. I was on Nikon. I had like 2 Nikon cameras I think back then, and Nikons are notoriously not the choice for most video people. They're for photo people.
Mm-hmm.
But so we were just doing what we could. And so I was trying to start a podcast off of gear that wasn't necessarily geared towards that. And I remember one of my friends, Berto, he's a photographer here in Charlotte. So shout out to you, Berto, Gilded Images. He was one of the people that was on the show, as well as I think his name's Lucas, one of the guys from Charlotte Shooters. They're like a photography group here in Charlotte, and they had like a magazine and some stuff like that back then. And I had him on, and then there was somebody else I think that I tried to have on, but basically those episodes never even saw the light of day because I never got to edit them. It was rough. So we were like, both of our mics were running to separate places. We had like 3 cameras. The setup was like really sprawling and big, and it was a whole lot. We didn't know what we were doing, and at the same time, I was trying to also social distance, so our setups weren't like this close. Like his setup was over there, and I'm over here, and like we don't have like an angle that shows both of us in the same frame.
Got you.
It was a whole thing. It was a lot, and so that never ended up happening. And then I got my notes here, y'all, on my iPad because they like to call me an old man, but I got a lot of stuff that I got to remember.
If y'all knew his full name, you would understand.
Hey, my name, my life, my everything. It's old, but guess what?
And he younger than me.
I know how to make some money. That's how I know. So I'll take the old accusations. But yeah. All right. So in 2020, that's really the first time I saw it. And then in 2022, I was in a different studio in 2020, a different spot down the street. And so then when I moved in here, top of 2021, I waited like a year, and then I tried to do it again. And it was me and my friend Ray. Ray used to work with me a lot. He was like my right hand dude. So I've had like a couple of iterations throughout the years where I had like a different right hand person. When I was in high school, it was a dude named Chris, and he was there during college. I used his camera for the first time, like to do some of my earliest YouTube stuff, and he was there when I first learned photography and all that. And then it went from Chris to Ray. Ray is who we bought that camera from, the Sony FX3, when all of them were out of inventory. So shout out to Ray. And then I tried to start the podcast with him. It was actually right here. Literally, we had like a table, and there's some old photo somewhere of like what my angle looked like, and we were gonna try and start it. Episode never came out. Didn't happen. Right. Cool. So that didn't happen. And then at the end of 2022, I did some stuff with an organization that I started called Dream Chaser Entertainment. And that thing still exists, but it is on hiatus because money. And so that's kind of, that's what it was. But we did like a late night talk show and some other stuff. And we completed that, but then from there, me and my cousin were doing a podcast called Chasing the Dream, and that podcast was right over there. And we did, I don't even know how many episodes we did. We maybe did like 4 or 5 or 6 something episodes, and then life just got in the way, and it got busy. She is running a nail empire. She does acrylic nails, y'all. She teaches. She's actually, this is a great PSA. So Shea is currently about to go on tour to launch, I think at the time of this, actually her first class is in 2 days in Raleigh, North Carolina.
Oh,
so
that's cool.
You missed it. But and that tells you how early we're filming this. But basically every month of this year, she is doing a different class in a different city. So she's hopping states and different stuff like that. And then at the end of this year, she is doing the Rich Off Nails Summit, where you can come to Charlotte and stay here at a hotel and experience a whole 2-day event that teaches you everything about nails. So that's a little shout out for the Lux Company. We do a lot of stuff with the Lux Company, but basically she was over there running her like empire and doing like nail education and classes and all this other stuff, and I'm over here trying to run all these clients and all that stuff. The timing just didn't work, so we did a couple episodes of that, and then that stopped, and that was the last Dream Chaser project that happened. We'll bring it back. I'm not worried.
Okay.
And then I tried a solo version of this very podcast, the BKP Creator Club, when I turned 26, I believe. So in 2024. And on my birthday, I sat on the floor over there. I think it was on the floor. And I filmed, actually it was over there. And I filmed the first ever episode of this. And it was just me kind of talking about turning 26 and all that stuff. And then I promptly did 2 more episodes after that, and then nothing else.
Huh.
And now we're here.
Oh, wait.
So look at this.
Look at the Lord. No.
Yeah.
I honestly understand the journey in general, because sometimes when it's not the right time, things are not going to work out.
Yes.
Going back to your original statement, you stated like you just didn't have the right camera. How do you start a podcast knowing that people may not be able to afford a certain brand of camera? Can you still podcast? I know the answer to that, but I want to hear what you have to say.
So I love that you said that, because you're teeing me up from part 1 to part 2. So the first part was we're talking about like the lessons that, or not necessarily lessons, the journey that I did, and now we're gonna go into the next step, which is the problems.
Oh.
So The answer to your question is, of course, you can start a podcast without all the best gear.
Mm-hmm.
However, if you don't understand the tools that you have, you're going to mismanage the things that you've been given.
Exactly. Could you
Right.
explain?
Yes. So at the time, I'm 99% sure that I had an iPhone at the time that could have easily been a camera,
Mm-hmm.
but also it stems a little bit from wanting things to be as perfect as you envision it to be, and we're going to get into that a little bit later as well. But we had a lot of different gear that
Mm-hmm.
was, just around back in 2020. Obviously, I have a lot more stuff. I mean, if y'all saw how many lights we had pointed at all of this and all the things and stuff, like it's a lot. It's a
Not
lot
y'all.
going on.
Y'all look like y'all were glowing.
Yeah, it's a lot going on, but really, when it comes down to trying to take on like that podcast, there were a couple of things, a couple of main problems. The first problem that I identified was that I just didn't have enough time to maintain everything.
Mm-hmm.
So based on kind of how I just set this up, and even when I'm thinking back to when I was setting the thing up the first time in 2020, or even with Ray when we were here, or with Shea over there, there's so much gear that went into it, and like the amount of time and attention it takes to actually try and start a podcast, that if you don't have a framework or a system in place to try and make things easier for yourself to create, no matter what level you're at. You can be at the level like us where you're trying to do the most, or you can be at the
Mm-hmm.
level, right, we're doing the most.
I mean, you
Or
got it.
yeah, we got it, and it's an advertisement. It's one big advertisement to show that we can do it, but it's also helping and stuff like that. But the real idea is that if you don't systemize what you are trying to do, you're never going to be able to repeat it. And
Mm-hmm.
that was the problem that I had when I did the first one. I didn't understand what went into truly creating a podcast, as far as like trying to structure out your episodes, as far as trying to get ahead on like shooting and planning with with your guests and all that other stuff, or even coming up with a setup that, even if it looks good from like your perspective, is this actually manageable to set up, and is it sustainable over time?
Mm-hmm.
None of those things were true or happening, and so you come into a thing where like I would get here with Shea, and I would need somebody behind the cameras to like kind of make sure we're in focus and doing all that stuff, because I didn't have things like an iPad to be able to check and all that stuff. But even still, you don't have to go for the biggest version
Mm-hmm.
or of something in order to have it done if you don't have the time. So really, it's trying to maintain your time, and make sure you can actually accomplish everything. That was one of my problems, but also setting the bar too high.
Mm-hmm.
I, I didn't have to do the most,
You didn't.
and that is
I just
yeah,
wanted you to come to that realization
correct,
with me.
correct.
Hold my hand when I say this.
You don't have to do the
You
most,
don't.
right? And that leads kind of back into your point of like, you don't have to have the perfect this and the perfect that. Of, you can start a podcast with just your phone.
Yeah.
You can start a podcast with two phones.
Mm-hmm.
You can start a podcast with three phones. The cameras that we have right now total $6,000 without lenses.
I ain't got that.
I ain't had that either in 2020, but I was trying to aspire to be like the people who had like a lot of gear that looked like this.
Mm-hmm.
And that's cool, but you're not going to make it because it's not sustainable. You're trying to reach something. You're trying to take the shortcut to accomplish something that other people have spent years and years and years building up. And somebody
Mm-hmm.
could even be looking at me like now and seeing all this and being like, oh yeah, so he can do it, so I can too. You absolutely can, but you don't have to do it in this way. It's not always about your ability, it's about sustainability.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, you do have the ability to create something really, really cool. Like, for example, when we did Night Bright, the late night talk show that we did in here, there are so many things that I would do differently if we did that today. And the
Mm-hmm.
first thing, and that's why we didn't end up doing a season 2 in that, version, is because it wasn't sustainable in the way that me, Sterling, and Mona were having to run around and try and do, everything with, minimal help in doing some things. Now, we did have like a, what was it? We had like a writer's room that was virtual. We had somebody in Australia in our writing room. Like, it was really
Oh,
cool.
that's cool.
But it was still a lot on the day to day and actually doing it. And we would film episodes on Sunday nights or Monday nights, and the shows would release on Tuesdays.
Oh, that's a lot.
Yeah. And we were filming weekly. Like, as we were kind of doing, there was no pre-taping or whatever because we were trying to make things topical to what was happening right now. And so there's a lot of things that we would do differently, from pre-taping to actually having help on set, to me not having to run all the cameras and try to leave and do all the editing and helping, in the writer's room with, like, outlining and scripting. And we had the help that we had was good, and we appreciate what everybody did, but it just became to a point where it's like, hey, this is not sustainable. So it's like, yeah, we see other ideas that people are doing. We have the ability and the skills to do it, but you have to be real with yourself if you want something to actually last. And that's the hard part.
So one of the things I was going to say is, number one, before you even start a podcast, don't really worry about the equipment. Pay attention to the idea. What is your focus and the longevity of your idea?
Correct.
Like, if for me, I only want to do seasons. Bobby wants continuous. So when we had this conversation, I asked the question. I said, how are you going to make this podcast something that can continue?
Yeah.
So those are the things that you have to ask yourself. So before you even think to go out and buy all of this equipment, like Bobby said, you have phones. I started my first podcast with just a phone and an idea and friends who were willing to join. And I did everything virtually. My first podcast was at the tail end of COVID. So I didn't want to be around everybody because, one, I don't really like people. But two, like, it's a part of the job and what it is that you're supposed to do. So again, finding an idea and figuring out how long can you talk about that idea and keep it interesting, because there's a niche for everybody. Find your niche that you don't mind talking about, and then finding different creative ways to, talk about that.
Exactly.
And then that's when you do a pilot episode. If I'm being honest, this was our pilot episode to see how this would flow.
Exactly.
And that pilot episode does not require you to go out and purchase a Sony or any of those things. Get your phone and a tripod and set your space up in a way that it's fully functional for you. So like he said, you can just rinse and repeat. Or just have the concept of, like, as long as I have me and a good mic or a good lighting situation, that's all I need. So I can literally record myself anywhere I want to.
Exactly.
So finding your spaces and remembering those things are very important in regards to starting a podcast.
Yes.
But again, your concept should be number one, and then everything else will just fall in place.
Yes. It's all about the systems that you put in place for what you're doing. And I don't want anybody to think that we're saying that you can't aspire to have the best of the best. Because you can. However, an aspiration is accepting the fact that you don't have that yet.
Unless you're rich.
That's why, right. And that's then I
ain't got nothing to tell you except
this ain't, just skip to the end. All right, yeah. And that's the thing too. If you're rich, you can just buy experience because you're buying the experience of other people. So that's a whole separate thing, and that's also why we are in business. It's because there are some people who, you don't have to be rich to work with us, but content is an investment, and every time you're always investing. This goes for anything that you want to take on in life. If you want something in life, you are either going to invest by time or money. It's the only two options. That's it. Either you're going to work for it because you ain't got the money, so you're like, I'm going to do it myself. You're going to pull a Thanos. I'll do it myself. Or you're going to go money. Exactly. Or you're going to go money. And it's like, all right, well, I don't have the time to do it, but I do have the money because I've spent time doing other things. So now I'm going to invest, and now this is your problem.
There's a lot of jobs that were created simply because people just didn't have the time or the ability to do certain things. And like photography, anyone could take time to invest and learn how to take great pictures, but sometimes that's just not their skill set.
Right.
So they pay people for that service. That's why a lot of people come to you for your service, because you do provide quality work. Talking head reels. You do all of these things that people need, especially for those who just don't have the time to sit there and do it themselves. Or honestly, I'd rather just pay you versus being frustrated with trying to figure this out. If I'm being honest. So people also pay for convenience.
Yes, exactly. And so that's what one of the main things that we want to show with this podcast and just overall is that, yes, we are a production company who does services of like content creation for people. However, we also understand everybody ain't got a lot of money. And I've had so many discovery calls with people who want to do the things that we offer, but they just don't have the money. That is what this podcast is for. This podcast is to show you that you can do it yourself. If you want the ability to do it yourself, we are dropping gems on how to just create your own content for yourself, whether it's for your business, for your brand, for, your own personal, you're trying to be an influencer, whether you want to start a YouTube channel, you want to start your own podcast or whatever, that is what this is for. Or if you are trying to start a production company, we do photo and video stuff and we run a production company. That is also, we're giving you a window into the behind the scenes of how we go shoot things, the types of gear we have, the types of stuff we want to have, and all those things, and our journey from going from a one-man band to an operation that is, bringing more people in and, raising the bar for our clients and the content that we're putting out. So there's a mix of things, and as we're setting goals for the things that we want to do in the future, one, we're showcasing those goals to you, but also inviting you to make your own goals, start your thing, and aspire to the place you want to go. And you say, oh, okay, I see what their thing looks like, or I see what this other person's thing looks like. I know I'm going to get there in the future, but for right now, this is where I'm at, and I'm willing to start because that's, the only thing that you can do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, I was just to tack off of that, like, as you can hear from the stories, it didn't start out like this. It literally started from an idea, and then sometimes with that idea, that first idea may not work. Sometimes you got to, again, shop it around and figure out what works for you and what brings you joy too. Because don't do a podcast about something that you really are tired of. You need to find something that you fall in love with, that you don't mind waking up to do, because this shouldn't feel like a chore. It should feel like something that you love to do.
Exactly. No, I definitely agree. And speaking of kind of like finding, I guess, your way and your things, along this journey, I have found not only the structure that I needed and the goals and stuff that I have for this show, I've also found the right people. And that's really a big piece of it, is that when you're trying to do things as a one-man band, that is essential sometimes to really just get things off the ground. I mean, when I started my business, it was me. I mean, you obviously have people around you who are like helping you and encouraging you,
Right.
but at the end of the day, it's your business. It's my name on the door. It's my name on the whatever. And so
nobody will care about your business as much as you do.
I used to, what's funny?
It's just a fact.
I used to tell my mama that all the time, and she also used to be like, don't say that. And I'm like, it's true though. Because when I used to live with my parents, I would be up, and I'm still up sometimes, but we're trying to do better. We're trying to do better, and that's why we hire people. That's why you're here. And so, really what it is though, when I would be at my parents' house, this is before I was full time or anything like that. Back in high school, I would be up all times of the night, or even through college, trying to make this like YouTube stuff kick off, because I used to do comedy and music stuff on YouTube before I was trying to even do any of this photo video stuff full time. And she'd be coming in my room at like 2:00 in the morning and be like, "Why are you up?" And I'm like, "Ma, I'm working, I'm doing stuff or whatever." Or if this was the early days and I was like trying to have photo clients or whatever and stuff like that, I would always tell her, and I was like, "Ma, nobody is going to care about this stuff as much as me." And this was creative stuff. This wasn't even like stuff fully in business, but that's truly how I felt. And I'm proud of like a lot of the stuff that I used to make back in the day. And I'll tell people that like, they ask like, how did you get into this, or how did you get good at this or whatever? It's like, I was my own guinea pig. I was the own one-man show of when I was doing like music stuff, and we can even show, some of the stuff, but like I was doing music videos, collaborating with other people and trying to make these happen, or I was doing skits that, featured people who, I got a friend now who I did a couple skits with him a while ago, and he was in the last season of Stranger Things.
What?
He was in season 5. Yes. What? And he was like, interacting with the main
I need
people.
his autograph.
Yeah, great. Yeah, he's fantastic. Kyle Riggs. Throw your name out there. Shout out to you, Kyle. And so that, like, I was doing a lot of that stuff back then, but it was setting the stage for stuff like this, but I was one man banding it. So,
if I'm being honest, I one man band a lot of things. That's how I figured things out myself. And also, I'm a firm believer. I will ask for help.
Yeah.
But the way I'm set up, if I ask you and I ask you again, eventually I'm going to get to a point where I'm just like, you know what? I'll figure it out myself. And the
Yep.
one thing about Sanpriest, I always figure it out myself. So I'm not going to keep
Right.
asking you over and over. And I know a lot of people out here are just like, I'm tired of asking people over and over. Now that's why you're here on this podcast, learning for yourself because you got tired of
Exactly.
asking other people. But again, no one is going to care about your brand and your business as much as you do. So yes, you need to learn these skill sets. You have to do these things for yourself, and then eventually life will give you the right people that you can coach to give
Yeah.
what it is that you need. But in the meantime and in the between time,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
got to
Yeah.
care more about it yourself.
Right. And I think there's a big philosophy, and y'all are gonna hear it all the time, is that I truly do believe in community over competition. And a lot of people will say that and they don't believe it. But I mean, if you look at the grand scheme of things and like look at this podcast or how somebody else might look at it. We are sitting here and telling people, hey, you can do it yourself. When we own a production company and we would be incentivized to tell you you can't do it yourself. You need us. You absolutely cannot create content without us. It is super hard and complicated to create a podcast. You can never be considered, but I'd just be lying to you.
Mm-hmm.
The truth of the matter is it is not impossible to do any of this stuff on your own. You just have to have the right amount of time and the systems in place to help you do that. And once you progress or graduate beyond the point of being able to do it all yourself because you have so many responsibilities, that is the time where you can give it to someone else. Now, you can choose to give it to someone else beforehand. You absolutely can. If
I
you're
advise not to. Take
right,
care of you first.
you
That's
can.
just my opinion. I say take care of you
Yeah.
first, get you established, and then help others. Because if you're already pouring out, like if you're pulling from what's in your cup, then what you gonna eat from?
Right, because we've done content with a number of people who want to start a podcast and want to be consistent, and they'll come to us with good things in mind, but it's
Mm-hmm.
just not their season to be able to keep up with a podcast all the time, even if you have the team that is us like helping you to do so. And so I'm okay with the idea of wanting to encourage people and equip them with the tools to be able to do it yourself,
Mm-hmm.
because there's no harm in that. More content for you being, or more content being out in the world, just means more people hearing your voice and helping you along the way. And then as you grow and grow and grow and grow, as your ideas get bigger, you will get to a point where you can't produce it all yourself, and
Mm-hmm.
then we're still here to help you out.
The issue here that I see is a lot of people are perfectionists
Mm-hmm.
and they want to start out with perfection.
Right.
So how do you handle that thought of like it's not going to be perfect?
Right.
Like
Right.
for me, I take those as learning lessons. Like when I'm starting something new, I can't go in with the mindset of knowing it's going to be perfect. I have to go in with the mindset of wanting to grow from it.
Right.
So I tell people all the time, I wake up daily to grow. So with that being said, if I'm taking a chance on something, I'm taking a chance on me. That means that there's always room to grow and get better at something. But I'll never know unless I try.
Right. And so these episodes over the next infinity. But this show is really going to be about, one, helping you understand the systems that you need to have in place in
Mm-hmm.
order to, and like tips and tricks in order to get to where you want to go in your content journey, but also helping you to identify that level of, hey, I can do this myself, or hey, I need other people. For
Mm-hmm.
example, when I was doing starting my production company, obviously I was starting off by shooting, editing, contacting all the clients, and doing it all myself. The thing that caused me to shift is I met Colby. So
Mm-hmm.
Colby, for those of you who don't know, is my lead editor.
Go Kobe, go
Colby
Kobe.
does wonders. And so a lot of the stuff that you've seen from Bobby Kerns Productions, well, you might not have seen a lot of, because we haven't been doing a good job keeping up with our social media. But now that won't be on me, so that's okay. We'll have other people
Who
helping
would
out
that
with
be
that.
on?
Hey, it will be on Monea.
Oh, give it up for Monet,
See
everybody.
in the background. Right. And so, but yeah, so it ain't gonna be on me, y'all. But a lot of the stuff that we've done over the past like year and a half to like
Mm-hmm.
2 years hasn't been edited by me. Or if it has, it's been begrudgingly because I've overloaded, the person that is also trying to assist me. But it got to a point where I'm trying to do 30 or 40 projects in a month, running around doing stuff for, a ton of different people. And it's like, maybe my time isn't best spent shooting all day and then being at the computer all night. maybe I should just, get some help. And so that's what happened. And slowly, we've been finding the right people. We went through four administrative, like assisting people before we got to the right person to be able to help us out last year. And then we did the same thing with additional editing help until we stumbled across Ian, who is our assistant editor who passes things off to Colby. So,
Shout out
like,
to Ian.
exactly. So the whole team is really coming into place. One, because I was able to recognize, like, hey, doing it myself is possible, and it was great to be able to start. But if I want to get to the point where we're doing $1 million years, it's not going to be with just me,
No, that's
because
right.
production companies aren't built with just one person. They have teams.
No,
That's
I agree.
kind of the whole idea. And so part of this will also be like, yes, we are empowering you to understand how to do it, certain things on your own, and educating you and all that stuff, and like, providing you with the tools and stuff like that. And I even want to eventually do like events and workshops and all those things that are helping you see, hey, here's the framework for how we should start a podcast. Or, hey, if I want to take my business to the next level, here's the types of things and type of B-roll and types of, scripts that I should be writing to get my business, more visibility on social media. Or here's the types of gear that I can buy, whether I'm a beginner or, intermediate, or trying to just, do it professionally, or, hey, I'm trying to start my own production company. Here's the things that I need to do. We're trying to help you with all of that. But at the same time, there's also going to be a point eventually to where life, like we said, life gets in the way,
Yeah.
and you realize, hey, maybe it's actually better if I just hand this over to someone else. And that is where I got in my business and in this content stuff. I said, hey, I need to make sure the circle around me is correct and actually helping me to get where I want to go. And that's just called investing in yourself.
Yeah, but the cool thing about it is you went through every job task that you're hiring everyone for. You already understand the ins and outs of it.
Yes.
So you already know who to hire, as well as if something does happen, you already know how to pick it up and keep it going so that it doesn't fall apart. The goal is to, of course, hire people that are consistent, that you can entrust that, hey, I can still continue growing my business.
Right.
But in the meantime, I'm understanding that I still know how to do everything because I started it.
Right.
And I think that is like the best quality to have when starting to build a business in general versus just running out to just hire people. Even if you have the finances to do so, still take time to learn how to do these skills yourself, simply because, again, there's a skill that you could either make sure that you're hiring for, or it's just something that you don't really need to pay somebody else for because now you know how to do it yourself.
Exactly. Yeah. And so I think the biggest thing is that oftentimes when I get on discovery calls with people who are interested in doing content, sometimes they see the price tag, or they see the amount of work that's about to go into it, and sometimes they're like, oh, I might be able to do this myself, or it might not be the right time to, do things or whatever. And I'm happy that now I can say I am being an example to all of those people who are coming to work with us. Why? Because every time you hop on a call with me, I am telling you that you need to invest in yourself in order to be consistent. If you want to take your things to the next level, either you are going to invest in time by doing it yourself, or you're going to invest in money by allowing us to do it. Well, I can tell you now that I've done both. I've invested my time over these last couple of years to build this company. And then I have also invested my money because now I am paying the people to be around me to help do the things. And now we're turning around and asking you to do the same thing.
I get paid, y'all.
He said, I get paid. Exactly. And so that's kind of the whole idea, is that it's hard sometimes to talk from a point of like trying to convince someone to do something when you haven't done the thing yourself. Because then it's like, oh, well, I'm telling you to do it, but would I spend that money? No. Well, I can tell you now, yes, I have spent my money.
Yeah.
I have multiple people who work with us on the team, if not daily, at least everybody doing something every week. And so that's the whole thing, is that like now turning around, I'm asking you all to do the same thing if you're serious about the things you want to do. But if you're not there to that point yet, then let's teach you how to do it yourself. So that's the whole idea.
The funniest thing I always hear is like, I think I could just do this myself. And then when they sit with it, not too much later, they're like, I want to reconsider my thought. Like, maybe you could help me out here. And it's just like, also something y'all got to consider is like the price changes. Like yesterday's price is not today's price. And sometimes like, as this is my business, so if I'm giving you a deal and you already dismiss my opportunity, I can't promise you the same type of energy going forward because I'm also offended. No, like not trying to say that.
Nope, I feel you.
Like not trying to say that
you're not valuing the thing that I'm offering you.
Yes.
Yeah, right. And hey, what I will say is, you own a song. That's a whole episode in
Yeah.
itself. And I think it is something to the thing of like showing other people how to value you is a huge thing, and
Mm-hmm.
that is part of why I'm trying to put our best foot forward when it comes to content, because it's easy for people to say, well, you ain't even posting, so clearly it ain't that important because your business is doing fine and you're not even posting. There's a reason we weren't posting, y'all. The reason weren't posting is because behind the scenes I'm trying to, assemble the Avengers basically, while at the same time to keep everything going. Every time we would advertise, we would get a flood of stuff that we can't manage. And so it's intentional to kind of turn off the machine, but at the same time, it also looks like you're not practicing what you preach. Because if the
Mm-hmm.
goal is telling other people to be consistent online, but then you aren't doing that same thing, that just like, well, clearly it's not actually as essential as you're making it out to be because you're not doing that thing. But now I'm happy that we can get to the point where we are able to practice what we preach.
The cool thing about what it is that you're doing, even though people don't see it, the right people have found you, and those are the people that have consistently been coming to you. So
Yes.
even though your page may not be booming the way that you wanted it to, everyone else's page has been blowing up, and everybody
Yes.
has been coming to you like, I saw the work you did for such and such.
Yes.
So sometimes just because I'm not constantly promoting on my page, that sometimes that doesn't mean it's a bad thing. Sometimes my business is just doing that great that I don't need to.
Correct. And so that's really the big thing, is that the call to action that I want us to have is to stop waiting and
Mm-hmm.
just start doing, because we are now to a point where we are putting ourselves back out there and being like doing all this consistent stuff. And so I am calling out to all of you: start the podcast, start the reels, start doing the advertising and all that stuff. It doesn't need to be perfect when you start it. You just need to do it. That's
Mm-hmm.
pretty much the whole thing. And then we are going to be here to hold your hand and teach you all the different skills and the things that you should be doing in order to take that thing to the next level. And
I don't have a problem with telling somebody this is trash. Like, this is trash. Let's try this. No, I'm
yep.
just kidding. I would never. I'm not that mean.
Well, he's not about that being looks the camera. That's so funny. But what I think it is too is, if I look back at some of the old stuff that I was doing, even like on YouTube, I'll look back at some of my earlier videos and I go, that does not match the quality of what I would do today.
Mm-hmm.
However, I am proud of it because I know at that moment it was the best that I could have done.
I honestly, so my first episode that I ever did on the Adventures of Sanpriest was with my dad,
Mm-hmm.
and the crazy thing about it is, when it comes down to like edits, video edits, and like promo edits,
Yep.
I thrive. Like that's just something that because my brain, I'm such a creative energy.
Mm-hmm.
Like so, I'm. This was I'm gonna confess because it was years ago and y'all can't do nothing to me now. But so I'm driving down from Tennessee, so I'm coming down the mountains
Yep.
while creating, because the episode was supposed to go up that day,
Oh, yep.
and I'm creating like dope. It was dope. I gotta find it, but it was
Yeah.
like this really great introduction to my not to my podcast,
Mm-hmm.
introducing my guest. It had transitions, it had effects, it
It's the
had
whole thing.
all of this while also including a song that I made.
Yep.
And I'm like trying to edit all of this while going down the mountain
Yep.
and making sure
Dangerous.
that it got posted.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, Jesus. And it like honestly, once I did it, I felt great about it. Would I ever do that again? No, because I want to make sure that I'm structured and
Right.
prepared. So another thing that I say that to say that when you do have a podcast, just record a couple of episodes in advance
Mm-hmm.
so that you're not overwhelming yourself, because editing alone, it takes a lot of time.
Yep.
But also once you like you were saying early in the conversation, you guys kind of lost steam because it's like as soon as you recorded it had to go out the next day. Don't
Exactly.
set yourself up for failure.
That's
Set
fair.
yourself
Yeah.
up for success, and
Yeah.
the way you do that is pre-record episodes. Like I would say record 5 episodes if you can before you release them.
Yeah.
That way, if they're getting released once a week, now you have 5 weeks of episodes. So now the pressure is off of you unless you get to the 5th week and you haven't recorded anything. Now that's shame on you.
Yep.
But if you're ahead of the game, your first episode goes out. now you still can use those 5 weeks to record new episodes, and it's a continuous thing if you want it to be.
Exactly.
Or it can be seasonal, like I prefer. I'm doing, because y'all only get a little bit of me. Y'all don't get all of me.
He said y'all can't afford the full experience. No, that's
No,
funny.
you can if they start. If YouTube gives me the
Yeah,
monetization,
so give me
I'll be
YouTube
pausing
money.
every day in the
Nah.
tub. Doop doop doop.
I feel that. No, I feel that. But no, you said two things that I found interesting. One was that you showcased the lack of time that a lot of people do have. You trying to edit a podcast while driving down a mountain, hurling to your death.
I'm alive.
By the grace of God.
It had the little cruise thing, like the one that helps guide you.
Yeah, got you right on off the cliff. Right on off. Tumbling down. This just in. Car tumbles off of Kings Mountain.
God
right down
had my back.
Yeah. But that's kind of, that's showcase that time is a huge thing.
Yeah.
And it's just like, hey, sometimes you get to a point where it's like, hey, you are trying to figure out how to make it all happen at once. Maybe that is the time, or you just need to figure out how to restructure and, do things in a different way. And now you are to a point where you are able to do things in a different way, but still matching that consistency. And I know my format right now is trying to not have breaks, obviously. Like I told everybody on the team, I was like, the only time we'll have like a break is maybe like the most we would have is like a 1 week break if something goes like really wrong. But the goal is to have stuff stocked up, exactly like you're saying. So you already spitting game. The goal is to have things stocked up enough in a way to where if something is happening behind the scenes, people don't even know, and you've set yourself up for success. That was the second thing, is that setting yourself up for success. If you know that your life is crazy and it's taken you this long to start a podcast or start making content or whatever, then you need to delay yourself a little bit more so that you can go ahead and set yourself up for success. So that way, when you are ready to roll stuff out, everybody ain't like, well, she put something out a week ago and we ain't seen nothing else. And then a month later, well, I guess that was just a one-time thing, I guess. I don't know. Right. So
and then you try to release another one. People kind of lost the interest. But I feel like we're giving away too many nuggets on this first episode. So I would like to keep, because I see that we can really dive deeper into this stuff.
We can dive very, very deep.
But
yes.
Just bringing it back in, I guess, have we came up with a slogan on how we want to end these shows?
So I used to have a different type of slogan, and I think the main thing that I want to really just tell people is that no matter what, the goal is always to keep learning, and keep creating.
Yes.
So that's what I'm gonna leave y'all with. The goal is keep learning, keep creating, and we're gonna see y'all on the next one.
Hey.
There it is. That's it. Okay.